Hello, Guy here from Longshore Consulting. You can find us at longshoreconsultinggroup.co.uk. You may notice I look fairly energised or energetic. It's because I'm thinking about part 4 of my 5-part resilience model, which is called energy management. So it's just really, for me, this is the no-brainer, the easy part, the sort of cheats bit, if you like, for how to become more resilient, because it's really about learning how to manage our own energy more effectively and doing all the stuff that your grandma could have told you in terms of how to energise yourself. So I've talked already about responsibility. So the 3 things I've talked about leading up to this are really the tools that can help you with managing your energy. All of the 5 areas of this ReSPECt model support one another. So think of those first 3. We talked about taking responsibility for my own well-being, being more self-aware and self-kind, and being better at choosing a perspective. If I put those 3 things together and then say, I'd like to get better at managing my energy, when I run resilience workshops and I get to this part, I normally say to people, hands up who'd like more energy. And typically, most people put their hands up. We all could do with a bit more energy to help us all of the time, and particularly when times are tough. I use the analogy of a bucket, thinking about a certain amount of vital energy in the bucket. It has more in some days than others. There's things that cause energy to pour into that bucket that boost you up, give you a lift, etc. And unfortunately, the bucket also has holes in. So there are things that are causing us to lose energy. So I'll come back to that in a minute. But if you think of this fundamental aspect of ourselves, if you use the corporate athlete model, this is a very useful book from many years ago, where we look at how do I become as effective as I can as a leader, and actually it's really relevant to any job, thinking of 4 levels in a pyramid. The first is physical, then it's emotional, then it's mental, and then it's spiritual. So 4 layers drawn in that way. Which one is the big one? Which is the fundamental, the foundation stone? It's physical. And if you think about that, well, where do we get our energy from primarily? It's eat, move, sleep. Watching what we eat, making sure we move enough, and sleeping well enough. If I were to add a 4th one, it would be breathe. The way that we breathe is so important for this stuff too. There's a great book I recommend called Eat, Move, Sleep by Tom Rath. Really well researched, great short read, loads and loads of useful tips in there. So I do recommend that for building your foundation for resilience. So thinking of the first 3 aspects of the model, being more, taking responsibility for my well-being, being more self-aware, choosing a perspective more deliberately. Those 3 things feed into how can I manage my energy more effectively. This is a big one for me, as I've said. I've posted about this already. There's a 20-minute example clip of a Get Set Guy session which I've been running for friends and network contacts at 8 o'clock in the morning a couple of times a week, which is just 20 minutes of getting some movement, getting your blood flowing, and then calming and slowing down, so some grounding techniques, and getting some focus for the day. I'll put the link in the comments to our YouTube page, which has that on it if you'd like to have a look at that. So I'm not going to do loads of shaking and bouncing and breathing and stuff in this, because I want to give you a technique that's on a piece of paper that you can do. There's a thoughtful way of reflecting on this, which links back to becoming more self-aware and then doing something with that. So it's called an energy audit. It's very simple. It's back to that principle of, if I want to manage something, I've got to be able to measure it. So let's have an audit and an understanding of our own personal energy. So that's two sides to that, if you like. I mentioned the bucket analogy, energy coming in, energy being wasted and draining out. So you take a bit of paper, perhaps you could do this after this clip, a line down the middle, the left-hand heading says, what boosts me up? So you literally write down in bullet point form, what are the things that energize me, give me a lift, give me a boost, make me feel good? So that may be your daily exercise, maybe curling up with a book, might be taking the dog out, it might be achieving a great thing at work, it might be celebrating, partying online, whatever it is. Let's have a list of all of those things which energize you, give you a boost, give you a lift. On the other hand, this bucket of energy has holes in, so irrespective of the energy coming in on one side, on the other hand, we are draining. Energy is draining out of us from those things that you could label as what drags me down. So it's people, situations, stuff you have to do. What are those things, write them down, that cause you to feel frustrated, annoyed, angry, can't be bothered, make you feel like that. So you write those two lists, and then let's do something with that. We want more energy in, and we want to waste less energy. So on the how do I get more energy inside, look at it from the point of view of, now I've looked at the list, what could I do more of that's already on the list? What else could I do now that I reflect on those? Are there any things I could combine together to get a double whammy, more efficiency? And fourthly, really important one, how can I make sure I really savour those times when I am doing the things that I've said boost me up? Because if you think about it, we can only be alive now. It's the only time we ever have to experience anything, to do anything, to be anything is now. Loads of the problems that we have stress-wise because of our ability to spend ages going over stuff in the past or worrying about stuff in the future, but life happens here and now. So if I can get better at noticing, hey, right now I'm doing one of the things on my boost up list, then right now I'm one of the luckiest people in the world. Well, if right now is all the time there is, I am one of the luckiest people in the world. So how can I use that? How can I make sure I'm really present, I'm really here, I'm really enjoying this, and I'm feeling really grateful when I'm doing that stuff? So you can even look forward to that. If for you it's your walk that you go on at 5 o'clock or whatever that is, you can have a little walk around as a break and imagine doing that and how good that feels to give you a mini break before you get there. And the better you've savoured it, the more strongly wired it will be as a memory, and the more easily you will be able to reimagine it. And if you can actually feel gratitude while you're doing it, then you'll be flooding yourself with DHEA, which is a really powerful anabolic steroid. You can't feel grateful and stressed at the same time. So a nice link to gratitude there by thinking about that stuff that boosts you up, doing it. While you're doing it, make sure you're there, being present. So loads of stuff you can do to get more energy in. On the other hand, what we want to do is waste less energy. Now earlier I said, can you write down the heading, which is what drags me down? Let's go back to the first principle of personal responsibility. Why don't I cross that out and write, how do I drag myself down? Because what we're looking at here is, how can I waste less energy? So there are things on this list, no doubt, for some of us, for some of you, maybe awful things, really, really bad things, which obviously no one's going to say, get over it, cheer up. However, we can always have a degree of control over our mindset, how we look at that thing, how much time we spend thinking about it. So if I label it deliberately, how do I drag myself down? There may be examples of things that have happened that are not your fault, nothing to do with you, clearly someone else is to blame, and so we are where we are, that's the situation. What I'd like to do is lose less energy over this. So you can map these things out across the 3 circles of influence. What are the things that I have no control over at all? What are the things I have some influence over? What are the things I have control over? And have a good reflect around that so that you become determined to patch up those holes in the bucket, lose less energy. If I could get 20% more energy in and waste 20% less energy, I've got 40% more energy. That could be a big help. That's just a quick tip. I don't want to go make this clip too long, but if you have queries about this or questions, please do get in touch. Very happy to help. And do have a look at those other clips on YouTube. This last one in this series will be about contribution, the last part of the ReSPECt model. I hope you're finding this useful. Cheers for now.